Peace, and welcome to the Healing Table. This is where we sit together, talk in honesty, and heal out loud. 3 men, 3 journeys, 1 table. As we sit at this table, we explore love, fatherhood, manhood, trauma, tenderness, and all the stories that shape us. So settle in, open up your heart. You are now at the Healing Table.
My new book is Villains in Special Education, The Uncomfortable Truth. And this is I think people are really starting to see some of the things that are behind the scenes that people didn't want to say is true, or people would try to look the other way. You really can't look the other way in anymore, because decisions are being made that just don't affect the historically excluded. It affects the majority as well. And my book really talks about special education, how we treat students with disabilities, how we other them, and how we other Black and brown students, and how we gaslight them in a way that points the finger at parents and students for quote unquote their behavior, and not the reflective work of looking in the mirror. So when you're talking about healing and things like that, I think for me, a lot of people, their insecurities come to the light when they're challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not willing to look yourself in the mirror, you're capable of allowing anything, and you're capable of also doing anything. So that's why think even within my book, within the educational system, in the government educational system, you'll see people doing some things that are just gross, and then try to victim blame, point the finger, or in a sense, I'm gonna say mansplain it why it's okay. It's just this is not even your skill set. This is what you're not even good at this, but you're gonna tell me what you're good at when I've been doing this for 22 years.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so in the context of those villains in special education, now that they've reduced the staff in special education, if we see these villains the way we see them now with that group there, was that group not a factor? Did they not play a role? Is this going to exacerbate things worse? I'm thinking about in the context of, and I haven't read your book yet, right? And so, and in the context of what I know from what you shared, this seems to be should you even put your kid in a public school system after this? Will there be anybody who's advocating for them with that department being sort of gutted, given the fact that you're already calling out the villains in sort of the state? And so that's why I wanted to did we just jump in this? Because parents got real decisions they got to think about.
Yeah. And this is what I would tell parents, that the difference between a good school and a bad school isn't the neighborhood, it's the teacher. It's the leader. So you can put your kid in a private school and things like that. My daughter went to a private school. That teacher didn't see her. She was a villain too. And so I think, because I talk about this in the book, I think because when you hear I'm in education or I'm a special education teacher and things like that, you're given this path that you're doing this amazing work, and you're just a gift and all these things, you don't carry bullshit too. And the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of insecure teachers, private school, public school, whatever, that don't know themselves, that haven't healed themselves. And so their trauma is passed on to students because they're not willing to look in the mirror, to do the appropriate healing, to value and validate themselves. So what's happening in the Department of Education is terrible. It's trash. And there's remedies to all of this. It's how do you treat a person like a person? How do you treat a human like a human? So no matter all the policies, all this other stuff, if a student, a 5-year-old comes in your class, how do you value and validate that 5-year-old without letting your trauma ooze on him? Period. period.
Yeah.
And so if I'm a parent, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for emotionally intelligent uh, 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 adults that have EQ, teachers that have EQ.
So
Wow.
it's hard for a parent, right? So as a parent, how do you advocate in a space where you don't necessarily have that sort of choice per se, right? Like you're not in the room picking the teachers, right? You're not setting like how do parents help one get educated on everything that you just talked about, which is here's what to look for, but now I know what to look for. What do I do next? Who do I talk to?
It's just like anything. You got to do your research. But here's the thing about parents that I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Look for the energy when you walk into that classroom. Is it a positive energy? Is it a negative energy? When you talk to this person, what is your initial reaction? Trust
Mhm.
that. And if it's a little sketchy, follow up consistently, check in consistently, and talk to your child consistently. Because oftentimes parents don't get to choose their teachers and so on and so forth, but it doesn't mean that we don't get to be involved. And we can
Right.
be as involved as we choose to be as parents. And if something doesn't feel right, 9 times out of 10 it isn't right. So this is why I tell parents that have children with disability and don't know all. I don't know about autism, I don't know about intellectual disability, but you know your baby. You
Yeah,
this
yeah,
baby came
yeah,
from
yeah.
you. You know that. And so trust what God has instilled in you of knowing your child and follow up on it. And here's the thing, you have to follow up without confidence. You don't need to know all these things. You might not have degrees, you might not have all these other things, but what you got inside you is something no teacher or educator could ever have with your kid, which is a lifeline. So there's a certain connection that parents have with their kid, and they have to trust that instinct and follow up and say something when it doesn't feel right, say something when you're uncomfortable, say something when you're not sure. It don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I say step walk by faith, not by sight, in a way that you're going to make mistakes. And if you're wrong, own up to it. But I'd rather make
Yeah.
a mistake and my baby not get hurt or be uncomfortable or sit back and my baby is getting hurt. I'm re-
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take that risk. Coach, you just about to say something?
No, no, I was just agreeing with you. And when I was, taking in all the advertisements of your amazing new book, congratulations, brother.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
it made me think of a poem I wrote back in the day called Public Schools. And part of that poem, I was talking about that how kids hated their teachers, and then teachers would go on strike in the midst of that hate. And then as they come back from the strike and they try to teach, the schools were either classrooms were either overcrowded, right?
Mhm.
And the ratio, I exaggerated, I said was 200 to 2 type shit, right? But then on top of that, at the same time while I'm trying to gain that education and fit in with the big amount of kids in that classroom, I'm also still trying to like identify who I am as a person, like
Yeah.
literally, figuratively, intelligently, right? And in that poem, I talked about how um, I probably should have been in special education, but more in the gifted and talented because I didn't think like other regular students. My mind worked differently. Even my wife, she's a kindergarten teacher. She did a course recently and it talked a lot about gifted and talented. So she got a really great dose of what that really means, right?
Hmm.
Because back in the day when they talked about gifted and talented, they were the ones on the short yellow bus. They'd be like, oh, on the short yellow bus, it was this kind of theme that kind of tagged around it, right? And when my wife explained it and the kind of learners who are in that gifted and talented, I was like, shit, you talking about me. That's me all day. That is the way
Yeah.
I learn. That's the kind of that's the kind of learner I was. And I never identified with school because I felt like another part of it that it didn't really explain my people's history. So there was that part. Sidebarring a little bit here because I don't want to go too far from the end of the topic, but it made me think of that poem in the way of like I live with a teacher, you know that, Mike, and I'm sure
Hmm.
Gro, you know that as well. My wife is a
Yep.
teacher,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
see the burnout, right, and I see the burnout being real, and I see the behaviors being different,
than when I was in school. The behaviors were definitely different in capacity and value, right? So one, I'm grateful because when my missus is having some of those challenges, I did refer Michael to her, like, hey, you need to talk to Michael, get some gems right quick on that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it also makes me think of all of the things that happen in that space. And I'm not trying to say this in the sense of justifying teachers in any way, but maybe just identifying all the different challenges that happen in the classroom, not just the teacher, the damn students, the janitor who comes in, right? All the different elements that fall into that space that creates that community. And I guess y'all, because I've been in a learner community the last couple months and seeing whether, sometimes a power of a classroom and a teacher, what Michael was saying earlier, when you have a powerful teacher who's aligned, I had one like that. Her name was Miss Roberts. She was the only Black teacher in my building. And she did more museum trips and field trips than any other thing. But she would take us to these places, right? She took us to DuSable Museum. Like, right, that was the first time, fifth grade, going to DuSable Museum. You see what I'm saying? She took us there because she found the importance of removing us from the classroom.
And senior. Yeah.
Right? Taking us to this different place to bring a whole different energy. Miss Roberts didn't play, so she was in full control. But she will also, beyond being a great educator, she taught English. That was her topic. She really cultivated each student's talent. At that time, I was a dancer. House music was big. So I danced my ass off. So she would literally, at the end of each day at 3 p.m. before we left at 3:30, she'll let me go to each classroom and perform.
Like, do your
Right?
stuff. I love it.
Feeding me, right? Feeding me, right? Just like Adam loves to dance, it calms him down. He doesn't learn like the rest of the students in my classroom. This is a way I can fuel some of that thing for him that can give him an outlet of that creative energy. Because literally, when I was dancing, I was talking in some form of a way.
Right.
I was expressing myself in some form of a freedom, whether it was being fatherless or being within the 4 blocks of my neighborhood. Either way, I just kind of capturing that the book is on time. What can we do for not just the children with the behaviors that for me, I say they're in a different value. I remember 1 or 2 popping off when I was in school, and they quickly got handled either by an assistant principal or 2 security guards. And they were old security guards. They were like in their 50s, 60s, highly respected. No one played with them.
That's right.
Right? Like we knew the limit with them.
Right.
And they would come in the room. You already knew what time. You didn't even put up a fight. You're like, all right, I got to go. And I also remember how connected the schools were because report card day was circled on the calendar like holidays, like Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Bro, everybody knew. It wasn't no getting around that, bro.
Right? And I feared the shit because I wasn't on top of I was a different student. So I was getting by through C's happily. Like, boy, I was like C all day. Give me a C all day. And I didn't understand that for a long time, why I lived in a C place when I knew I was smart. Like I could spell, I thought of things differently. I read music, I composed music, right? Like all these different energies that was coming to me. But classrooms, sitting down, taking in instruction, and maybe a way of there was a very wide brush of teachers who almost had the same approach in the 80s and 90s. There wasn't a lot of Miss Roberts per se, right? And the approach was a very iron thumb, pressing down, very rigid, very didn't meet you where you were at, right? I can go on, but y'all know where I'm going in terms of that burnout, in terms of those behaviors that are so magnified because there's different children out here. We talked about COVID babies, right? Being in the classroom now, and my wife has a gang of them in her classroom. What are the thoughts about that?
Well, before I talk about that, you said like 17,000 amazing things.
Yeah. He hit one of them grow moments. And it's like, let him cook. Let him cook.
Okay. So Adam, like what you're saying with that teacher, what was her name?
Miss Roberts.
Miss Roberts. I want to make sure her name was several times.
Yeah.
Because she gave you an invitation to be seen, valued, and validated in the way that you got to be you. He didn't ask Adam to stop being Adam.
Yep.
He gave Adam to be more Adam. Adam in different classrooms. And so see, when I see teachers that do that, like that's all relationships, man.
Mhm.
relationships, because she know how to press what buttons to get Adam engaged.
Mhm.
And then you talked about other teachers that had this iron thumb. They didn't see Adam's value. So you get 1 out of 5 teachers that see your value, or even take out Miss Robbins out. If it's 5 out of 5 teachers that don't see your value, they're inviting behavior. Because knowing you, Adam, you're gonna start resisting.
Oh yeah, I was stubborn,
Yeah, and you're
right?
gonna
I
have
was
something
stubborn.
smart to say back, right?
Yeah.
Not that you
Yeah.
didn't want to do well, but you learn differently. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, too many educators are trying to make everybody fit in the same box. And what they're getting is resistance. And they're saying, oh, this behavior is everywhere. Your behavior is everywhere. It's not the students. I never seen a student that I valued and validated consistently resist. Never. I'm batting 100 with behavior change. Why? I do what Miss Robbins did. Period. Now, I will say some teachers and the system sets teachers up, sets them up. When you got 30 kids in a classroom with no peer support, you got 30 kindergartners, that's herding cats. Like you had to have a certain ratio. If you have 30 kindergartens with special needs and things like that with no paraprofessional support, like those are set up and things like that. So like I know there's systems that kind of set teachers up for failure, that set teachers up for burnout as well. But going to like your COVID baby thing, like it's a different generation. I
About can you go?
get that. Say it again.
No, my daughter is
Oh,
now trying to get into
uh,
recording.
oh, no, no worries. It's a different generation, just like we were a different generation than our parents, just like our parents was a different generation than their
Mm-hmm.
parents. And I keep hearing all of the like people talking about, oh, they're just different, da da da. They should be. We don't want them the same. We don't
Yeah.
want our kids the same. We want our kids to be smarter and better than us, and that's exactly what they are. But we also have to understand, because of COVID, that there's certain things that they weren't exposed to, a lot of social things. So now we got to do what Miss Robbins did and take kids on field trips to expose them to different social things. We have to be intentional with putting back what they missed out on. But what do we
Mm-hmm.
do? Academics, 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 instruction, instruction, instruction. Not instruction that we can receive, but instruction that they want to give. And then we wonder why kids resist, and then there's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell every educator out there, every teacher out there, if you have a classroom with a whole bunch of behavior, don't point the finger at the kids, point the finger at yourself. Look in the mirror, take a breath. Because what you didn't get in education is to kick kids out and suspend them, or to teach the perfect kid. You got an education hopefully to make a difference. And if you're not making a difference right now, it's not the students, it's how you're approaching the students. How you try love, how you try validation, how you try culture. Like there's so many things that teachers have in their toolbox, but we forget that we're all human. If you didn't try humanity first, you're losing in an educator. So when you're doing this top down and this rigid thing, that's villain type behavior. I'm going to make you do this. That's what villains do. Heroes let you be who you are. That's Miss Robbins. That's your wife. Heroes, that's you, Adam, with your cohort that you've been working with.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
their teacher, and they're flocking to you. You got grown adults, some older than you, flocking to you. Why? Because you see them,
That energy. Yes,
the
sir.
energy. So even when you got quote unquote adults misbehaving,
Mm-hmm.
when you show up and give corrective feedback from a space of love because you expect more, what happens? They respond. It's the same thing. It's harder to do it with adults than it is kids. But if you keep getting the same behavior from kids, it's not the kid, it's your approach.
Mm.
It's either an invitation or a square up. It's either or. And too many teachers are trying to square up on kids and they're getting behaviors.
Mm.
That's their stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, that's that was fire. That was fire. One, I can't wait to read your book. I, I love how your first response when I was asking you about the connection that you was like, I get the easy now. It was like, keep it simple. Follow your gut. Like as a parent, like as a parent, I think just hearing that following your gut instinct as a parent, that's actually probably all the confidence you may have at any given moment. I love how simple that was. It was even freeing for me. I was like, oh shit, I guess all you gotta do is follow you. You start asking questions from there. That makes sense. And so, and then Coach, when you started talking about the burnout, I started to get this sense of how the villains are and how the system feeds and opens to the villains, right? And that's why I was asking a question about that. Is the Department of Ed going to make it even worse because of even with what I know, one of my current clients it's a school board superintendent and and their staff. Well, from there, all you hear is about these instructions, right? This is what the state said. This is what this. So if everybody has these mandates and these mandates, the mandates almost don't give space for this humanity that you're asking for. And I think your book is going to make it clear that we need that humanity back in. And so, and I think this gets back into sort of bringing this back to that central question is that if we got the villains in this current system and the system is being broken down with whatever we thought the system was, right? There's no Department of Ed, right? There's no Office of Special Education. Like, who becomes the arbiter on behalf of these kids? And like, where does that advocacy come from? Because I just come back to, if I'm a parent and I come across your book, who do I now go to if I like? Obviously, I can go to my school right there, but I'm also probably a little bit more concerned about just my kid, right? Because at this point, I understand my kid is in this unique community, right? And so when I think about that, and I think about again this healing table that we're sort of brought to the table here, you brought to me something really important on the table by calling out the villains, but then I'm going, well, that system that he called it out don't exist no more. Shit, are our kids fucked or not? I don't know. I don't know. That's why I was so glad the timing of this call because I'm going, oh shit, so I'm about to talk to an author in this space. I can ask all the questions I want to ask. And so, I got a ninth grader. Like he's not in special education, but he's in that gifted and talented group, right? And so to coach your definition, gifted is in terms of identifying unique learners, right? And sort of these and allowing them to sort of be in that gift. And so, I look at what we call a system now that Mike, again, not reading the book, I'm looking at it going, am I going to even be able to recognize that system of badness in the context of who knows who, right? And again, I think your voice is going to be an important one, which is how do we make that transition, or what does that translation look like?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. At any given moment, you can be a hero or a villain. That's what I mean. If you're not healed, high likelihood, if you're in education, you're going to be a villain. You could be a villain not in education. And like we keep talking about the system that's being shut down, or the system invites certain behaviors and things like that. There's people that enact the systems, period. And so that's what I'm talking about. Heroes and villains are you willing to stand up for truth? Are you willing to stand up for kids? If there's no more department, quote unquote, of education, this is a perfect opportunity to see who you really are.
Mm.
Are you going to teach with love and light, or are you going to do and act the status quo that quote unquote isn't there? Or are you going to be comfortable? Like, there's a chapter in my book says, "Do it for Ruby Bridges." Like, when I think about Ruby Bridges, I tear up all the time because I have my daughter, girls talking to his daughter. Um, and this young lady walked into a school with like literally uh,
A
was
fucking
it
mob.
National Guards walking her in, being
Yeah.
berated by people, white people,
Yeah.
Mhm.
white people. And I was like, if that little girl has the strength to stand, why can't everybody else in this world stand? So this is what I would say to all the educators and all the stuff that's worried. If Ruby can do it, so can you.
Mm.
So can you. And I imagine like what kind of resolve must she had to do that?
Yeah.
Because after the cameras weren't there, she was sitting by herself. You know, there was people were talking stuff. They were pointing at her, but she still showed up. So now the cameras ain't there, educators. What you gonna do? Are you gonna still show up? Are you gonna still keep that kid in your class? Are you gonna take the time to see giftedness that exists inside every single student? And I know with giftedness, there's this thing called exceptionalities. Are you gonna see these exceptionalities as gifts or curses? Because oftentimes on black and brown students, our exceptionalities are seen as curses, as defined as aggression, as disrespect, and then we're pushed to the side and fast tracked into special education or suspended, or those security guards are called.
Mm.
So are we going to pause? Like to me, like we're in a time and space where like walk your walk.
Yeah.
Walk. If you're about education and about students, be about education and be about students. It's like I know there was the No Kings protest and all this stuff, and there's thousands of people marching. That's super dope. Everybody was looking. Now nobody's looking in your classroom. How are you gonna show up now? Where you don't get credit for being on the march.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you don't,
Yeah.
oh, I'm woke. Nah. When you don't have to talk about justice and equity, now you have to be equity and justice. Two totally
Yeah.
different things. How are you going to show up
Absolutely.
when that kid cusses you out? But you know that their heart is hurting. You know that they're homeless. You know that they haven't eaten anything. Are you still going to send them back to the car? Because that's what they're living in. Or are you going to suck up your pride and your ego and say, hey, I know that you're hurting. I'm here. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to dismiss you. You can't break this bridge with me. And talk to me with respect because I respect you. And let's
Yeah.
go get you something to eat. And you don't get to go to recess because we got to finish up this math because you were late.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, are you willing to do that? And for the leaders of these different schools and these other central office departments, now walk your walk. Yeah, everybody preaches equity, everybody talks culture until it's time to walk equity and do equity and be equitable and establish real culture. You got all the metrics and all this stuff. It's all fake. Now, let's see it. Let's see the experience of children now.
Mhm.
Let's see how you talk to parents when they question you when something don't seem right. Are you gonna be, oh, this is a difficult black and brown parents? They always getting on my nerves. But if a white parent does it, they're advocating for their kid.
Mm.
Right.
Which one is it? So it's really
Mm.
about, are you gonna get out of your way of all the stuff that you've been carrying, insecurities, so on and so forth? Love yourself in a way that values and validates yourself so you can know that you're enough, but you're capable of so much more, so you can bring that same energy into your classroom, into your district. Like, with everything going on, the choice is still yours if you're going to be a good human or a bad human. Period.
This is a goddamn great book launch. So, give us the title, give us the launch date, Mike. Where can we go buy that? Let's just drop it. Let's just drop that right in after that great, after that great piece. Let's
It's
plug it in
called,
right now.
it's called Villains in Special Education. I got like, can you see it?
Come
Villains in
on now.
Special Education.
Yes.
I'm
Go.
still
Do it
redoing the
really quick.
cover. Villains in Special Education, The Uncomfortable Truth. It's either going to drop beginning of December or the first of year.
Okay. Nice. Nice. How's it feel? Because this is book 2 for you, though. This is book two.
2.
But it's a different type of book than the book first one, though, right? Very different.
This feels way different than Easy Equity. I actually was writing this book before Easy Equity, but Easy Equity came and it just, God's like, he just put it all the way out. So that happened fast. In this book, I kind of came back to it as more, I don't want to say me, but like, it's way more fire. I think you can hear it in my talk.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Because you mess with babies and kids, that's a trigger for me. I just don't mess with people's kids. They're the most precious commodity. They're gold. But this book is like telling the uncomfortable truth. I think I've been in education for 22 years, and there's some things that people just try to hide. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
Parents need to know to support with healing. Kids need to know. Kids that are adults now need to know, like how you were treated in school is not your fault. That was adult stuff. But this is like a more traditional book, and it feels weird, but it feels good. And I'm still processing.
So when you talk about it feels more like you. What happened in between the launch of the first book and this book?
I don't want to say this one feels more like me. Like I think people are going to see two sides of me.
Yeah.
Easy Equity is like how I value and validate self, like pouring into people, and that's all me. This is also like some heat. Like I'm a lion, I'm a fire side, and oftentimes, not oftentimes, we need to start speaking truth, and truth isn't disrespect. Like, and when I would do that, even when I was working for a previous employer, I was always the bad guy because I would bring things to light that people didn't want to see. I have a chapter like it's called Say the Thing. Talk about the elephant in the room. I would talk about the elephant. Not because to like, oh, look at me. I'm talking about the elephant because if we don't talk about this elephant, somebody's child is going to be hurt.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking about it. Or this is going to lead to more teacher burnout. More teachers burnt out, more teachers causing harm, more kids getting hurt. So I'm going to bring things up. And it's like, oh, it's not the right time, Mike. Oh, this is this. There's a time and a place. Or you're just being unagreeable. And I'm just like, then call me all those things. I'm unagreeable. I'm all this. I don't care. I'm not looking for y'all's validation. I know who I am. I'm going to say the thing, not just for Ruby Bridges, for my daughters, for my son. And because I know if I don't speak truth, I'm not I'm stepping away from my heart, my passion, which is my grandma, and she wouldn't allow it. So I'm just I say the thing.
Yeah, that's dope. The bravery. The bravery. I applaud and I appreciate. And certainly hearing how deep this resonates with you. Something that you said stuck out to me is like when you said the truth isn't disrespectful. I thought was really it really put me in the mindset of the part that's uncomfortable or the fact that somebody may see the truth as being disrespectful is that it wasn't on their time. right? And telling the truth ain't about on your time. It's about this is the right thing to do in this right moment, right? And I think that's what you're calling out. And look, and not having read the book, but if I gather now though, you decide at any moment whether to be the villain or the hero, whether or not you decide to run from the truth or you shed light to the truth. Correct? Is that where we're going with this?
Nail on the head.
Bro, that's yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see when you come to the table and folks gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's look, the definition of disruption for
Yeah.
sure.
Definitely this disruption. This book is like once again different. Like uh, I have some books pretty much done, but I'll be like editing and read a passage, and I'm just like, dude, babe, listen to this again.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's that's some heat. I was like, I know. Uh, and like the other thing I would say to this, like, you might not like it. People, this book is going to be controversial. I know it's
Mhm.
going to light a fire with a lot of people thinking that I'm like bashing teachers and things like that. It's not about bashing and shaming. It's not what I'm about. It's about truth, unapologetic truth. And if this is making you uncomfortable or it's burning a little bit or a lot of it, good. Because that stuff that is burning needs to come the hell out of you. Because I
Mhm.
think that's burning is the same thing that hurts kids.
Yeah, you set yourself
So
on
like
fire.
I'm not
Yeah.
apologizing for adult emotions when they're harming kids. I'm not. Um,
Oh, I like that.
because it's like too much at stake. There's babies' lives at stake. And anybody that knows me knows like I care about people. I will build that person up and things like that. But what one thing people can't say, they might try, but this is truth and this is my experience. This is my lens.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the people that seen me, that know me, or at previous organizations and things like that, probably will have something to say about it. But they one thing they can't say is that it's not true
That's right.
because they know it is. They don't
Yeah.
might like how I said it. They might not like the fire behind it, but it's truth. Truth coming from somebody that's been historically successful at doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So this is I was walking with Adam and I think I'm in this season of like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like I'm like no. Like I'm thinking about man's mental health. I'm thinking about this book. I'm thinking about easy equity. If we keep doing what we've been doing, we're gonna keep getting what we've been like what we always gotten. And like we just have to start moving different. And so when I say I don't give a fuck, it's not that I don't care about people. I just care less about what everybody thinks of me because I done the work to know that I'm enough and I'm not searching for other people's validations. And I keep a tight circle. These two people on this call. So if I know I messed up, they would say something to me. Not out of I got you, Mike. I got you easy. Like, nah, brother, because I carry this,
Yeah.
um in this. And like I feel like we have to start as like men of color, we had to say no to carrying institutional trauma and harm, no to toxic male masculinity, that you have to be so goddamn tough, you don't allow your heart to heal, so you give your stuff to your kids. I'm like, no. So, like, when I say I don't give a fuck, it's like, I cry in front of my kids. I cry in front of my girl. I get emotional. I'm an emotional being, and I don't care what people say about it. Oh, you soft, you weak, you change. I'm like, why haven't you? You having a ball. And I think we're in something special when it comes to men and healing that's needed, and something special that's going to be revolutionary because we're going to be more connected spiritually and emotionally to other men, which is going to allow us to, like, I don't want to say reclaim the household, but reclaim the energy that is needed in households to move forward unapologetically.
All of that's right in my deconditioning wheelhouse. So I'm 1,000% in agreement with that, right? And because and so for me, it's not so much as focused on the household as it is on self, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we start to take care of ourselves as men, the overflow from that is just good things. I'm going to take care of wherever I'm at. If I'm in a house, I'm going to take care of the house, right? If I got kids, I'm going to take care of the kids, right? If I'm like when you take care of yourself, those things automatically come, which is the same thing you're advocating for inside the classroom is you are responsible for your own healing and the way you show up in the classroom, right? And I think that's I don't give a fuckness it is really that space of really factually understanding that external validation doesn't exist because it is fleeting, it is temporary, right? It's transient, right? And it's never going to be ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are those of us who Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time is unquestionable, and then there are some that are I am down for whatever part of this debate you want to have because I disagree. And I was saying this to some folks recently, and I was saying to them is that I don't know that we on Earth 8.8 billion folks all agree on any one thing. And then people may say, well, the three basic needs. Well, if you say food, water, what is it? Food, clothing, and shelter. Those are not. We don't agree on those. And we don't agree on those because we know everybody don't got access to water. Everybody don't got access to all three of them with equity. So when I say to folks, guys, if we don't agree on those things, good luck getting with somebody to agree on all the decisions that you made with the information that they had no clue that you had to use to make the decision you made, right? And so I think that thing that you talk about, which is that look, not giving a fuckness, I cannot give any because y'all aren't going to even give me any grace that I should even care. Which is the same thing you're saying to those kids. And I don't know if I got this expression right, but I think you said it's either hug or square up or something like that. But I was
invitation
like,
or square up.
Yeah, invitation or square up. I think fuck this is the same thing. If you want me to care about what you got to say, invite me to the table of care. And if you ain't gonna invite me to the table of care, I don't give a fuck what you got going on. So I'm so excited about this book. I didn't know you was as close as you was to dropping it. So when I saw the book on Instagram, and then the next day I see the Not Like Us. I'm like, great. I've been dropping stuff for months and I don't got no and I'm like, bro, this is next level. The one that dropped this morning, I'm like, shit, I'm jamming to the bit. I just want this to play in the background so I can. And so, like, man, I'm loving how you're coming out with dropping this. And I want to just sort of say this as you know, you're my guy. It looked kind of nice and friendly. But after this conversation, some folks are gonna look at that book and be like, I didn't know my soul was gonna be hurt so much when I read this book because I definitely think you dropping it around Halloween is a good look for the book because I just the heat you're giving off from this from us talking about the conversation. Man,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on this.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing because I know when you were doing your advertisement for Easy Equity, it was very gentle and calm and inspirational. People looking in a calm meditation space. Like it was very in tune with Easy Equity. And this one, you got the different characters You know, from Michael Myers, right? Freddy Krueger.
Yes.
You got all this different energy, and it really, but when I was hearing you speak, I was also thinking like, I think this book that you wrote tap into the younger Mike.
Yeah.
You mentioned
Yeah.
some of your challenges as a child in school. That's why I wrote Public Schools, the poem, because I was really speaking about the challenges I had with school, right? And not being identified, especially being the youngest. So I had two older siblings who were ahead of me in school who are identified differently than me, right? And in saying that, I have a thought here, really. I started thinking about, well, shit, how do these teachers are the villains? They're villains, right? They living in Gotham. Gotham's about to be removed, as Gro just explained, right? How the hell did they become villains in the first place? How did they come to Gotham and arrive there to that space? Is that their trauma? Right? Because then I start thinking about that Iron Thumb, and y'all know I ran camps for years. So in
Yeah.
that space, a lot of people's children. And I have to say, half of my style was an Iron Thumb. Like I put the fear in people sometimes. And at that time, I thought I was doing fully right. I wasn't Mr. Who's helping you heal, where I meet you where you're at and I heal your ass, right? I was more like, we need to get this shit done because we change lives and save lives. Like, if you're going to teach these children how to swim, 85% of them don't know how to swim, right? So I guess in my thought, I was thinking when you were speaking about it, Mike, and even the thoughts you threw out there, Gro, understanding that Gotham is gone and without that resource of Gotham not being there no more, and these individuals, these villains, are now going to villain up a little more. They're probably going to unravel as villains as well. And to me, for outside looking in, I've never been a villain in my life, maybe kind of, but not in that way. For me, outside looking in, being a villain is exhausting
It's gotta be.
and worry.
It literally is. Go ahead, finish, Coach.
Hold on. So I guess I'll land my plane where my thought is like, because all those pieces and it's exhausting, right? And we know that, one, how did they get there? And if it's a cycle that they're in with the lack of resources, everybody ain't going to be a Miss Roberts or a mister Sykes or Mr. Professor or Mr. Who's helping you heal, where we're going to meet you where you're at, right? There's a lot of teachers who want to just punch in and leave. Their passion is gone now, right? And probably need to check in on their mental real estate.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, you know where I'm going, but I'm gonna land my plane there. What's your thoughts on that one, Mike? And Gro on that. Like, right? Gotham is gone now. Villains are gonna villain. What feed them into being a villain? How do we get them out the cycle of that villain? Let's go. That's my thoughts.
So that's just great questions, Adam.
Sure is.
So like, it's being a villain. It's in all of us. It can happen to anyone based upon how we show up. And with quote unquote Gotham being gone, like you said, Coach, being a villain takes a lot of damn energy. You know why? Because it's something that you brought into who's helping you heal. And to be a villain, you have to wear a mask. You got to wear a whole bunch of masks. And before you don't know where you begin and when your mask starts. You don't know. Like I said, I don't think any educator ever got into education. It's like, I'm going to harm as many kids as possible. Before you know it, kid out here, I'm frustrated. I'm burnt out here. I just can't deal with this here. I can't. And before you know it, you're not even an educator. You're a perpetrator.
Yeah.
The only thing you're doing is causing harm. And it is exhausting because subconsciously, I know educators are thinking in the back of their head, like, oh, that was messed up. Oh, let me justify it in my head. Let me put this back together. Let me put my makeup back on. Let me put this mask back on because I need to look like I got all this stuff together. And I know that you don't. How do I know that you don't? Because your class is in chaos. You're coming to school disheveled. And even if you fit it to the nines, I can see it in your spirit. Your spirit ain't whole. because simple questions could become complex tasks to you. When you're in burnout, you're fight or flight. So you're living in lizard brain. So I'll be like, hey, what does the student love to do? And you, I think this. I'm like, you should be able to roll this stuff off like that. But I know you're in burnout mode, and it's hard to live in burnout mode. It's hard to live wearing a mask every single day, day in and day out, and not being you. So when I ask teachers a simple question, I was like, when's the last time you got to be you? Let's say Sarah. When's the last time you got to be yourself, Sarah? What does Sarah love doing? And they literally don't know. They don't know. I'm not joking. They don't know. When I hear that, that's scary. Why? Because you don't know who you are. You don't even know what makes you happy. So you don't know what makes you happy. You're, quote unquote, in a sense, always going to kind of live in this villain mentality because you're mad because you're not happy.
Mm.
So now you're going to point the fingers at the, quote unquote, people that are making you not happy. The district, the principal, and the kids. You're not going to hold up the mirror. And so how do you get out that cycle? Who's helping you heal? You got Grow Faster and you got Easy Equity. How are you loving you? This is why I'm preaching how you love you matters. Because if you're not intentional with loving you, you're going to become a villain in somebody's life, either at home or at school. You're going to pop off on your spouse for just saying hello. Or you need extra time away from everybody consistently. So the things that you value don't have as much value because you're just trying to hang on because you're burnt out. And it's only a matter of time before burnout becomes self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get to self-destruction is you're capable of all. That's when you see people, oh, I don't care about this. And you're like, look at the evidence says all this. They don't care about no evidence. They're in self-destruction. Because if they look in the mirror, they don't like what they see, and they're not strong enough yet to look in the mirror.
Mm.
So it's a whole bunch of smoke screens.
Yeah, and then I think what happens with teachers is their solution. A lot of I'm not trying to paint with a wide brush, but maybe a little bit of an assumption here. But I know a lot of teachers who do it is they'll leave the school to go to another one. And all that stuff they're taking, they're just packing and putting in some acreage up here. And they're going with that. And I think that's the struggle that I have in that space with teachers. And you and I talked about this, Grow. You and I talked a little bit about this too, that mental real estate piece. And it comes to the question, are you renting or owning that, right? That mental real estate, that acreage, And when I think of what you were just sharing, and yes, it is the mass piece. I also thought, let's say if Gotham is still there, do they need to remove themselves from Gotham to actually become a hero again? Right? Like we're using that Gotham theory and then that resource. And sometimes the lack of resources from Gotham makes teachers blame it on the students at times through frustrations, right? Because I don't have the resources. I heard that a lot from my teachers when I was younger. We don't have the resources to go to Lincoln Park Zoo this year. Or no, it was Brookfield Zoo. So we're going to Lincoln Park Zoo, two different zoos in Chicago, right? One's more local, the other one's bigger, got more animals, right? So in saying that, when I was hearing you say, the mask piece, which I totally agree, I feel like they wear a mask because it is their own protection that they think they're doing, right? Like, I'm going to put this mask on, whether that's that mean face. I'm going to walk in here and just be about that. You're not going to do that, right? I'm going to just be this mean face. And I have to say, that was probably me a little bit as a camp director. Because campers used to tell my wife, Miss Millie, like, Mr. Adam a little stoic. He looked a little angry. And after hearing that for like a summer, I was like, you know what? I got to change that up. It was a mask I was wearing like to show business, right? But also like I was budgeting numbers, camp was going in a hole. So I had all that on my mind. That little 7-year-old didn't know that, but they wanted to see a smile on my face. So is it just as simple as that?
Yeah.
It's recognizing, acknowledging. Yeah, go ahead, girl.
No, I think there's something. I think this has been a theme that's come up all the way through, which is, I guess it comes to this question to me though. There's a lot of context involved in villain and heroes, which we know, and even when you see it in the movies, right? And so, even in this context, obviously they're the egregious villains, right? I think the egregious villains are there in self-destruction and they just don't even know it, right? I think what you described, Mike, was the current state of mental health, right? Across the board. Because this burnout ain't just particular to teachers, police officers, nurses, right? Regular folks at regular jobs, right? And so if we all have this conditioning, as I call it, but that state of mental health that you talked about, Mike, and we all have these masks, right? And you have to take off the mask, right? And so how do you balance it, or how do you integrate it all as you are not aware? Coach, you gave a perfect example. You was not aware of something until the feedback at a particular time, right, resonated with you, right? And I think we've all maybe heard some things before resonated at a particular time, right? And there's a time where you kind of have this. You're a villain to somebody, and you don't even know you're doing anything villainous. It's how I want to say it, right? And so, because I think about that for teachers as that first year teacher who's trying to figure it out, or that fifth year teacher who just had her first kid, now trying to deal with this thing at home, the teacher who just got married, the teacher who lost this, right? And so you've got all of these things that are coming on. New principal, strikes, didn't get paid, all of this. So there's a part of the villain piece that is, I don't know how to characterize this, but this is why I love the fact that we get to have this podcast, because we don't get to have the answers, and it just becomes a good conversation. How do you characterize that? How do you create space for it? And I think, Mike, if I think about the book, how do I look at the book and be able to say, maybe this book is just a bit of a wake-up call. Let me give myself some grace and not judge myself, because I'm juggling a lot and I'm trying. And if I really think about it, I don't even make enough to even be able to afford a therapist for myself. I'm just doing the best I can with this little teacher salary, right? And so, like, how do you give grace for that state of mental health that you said, which is not excusable, but context matters like a mug.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
No, you do know, and you're 100% right.
Yeah.
There's villains are humans too.
There we go. Okay.
Period. They deserve to be valued, validated, and loved. And so anytime I got real behavior change, and even when I was a manager of behavior strategies, our approach wasn't to support the students, to support the teacher, to value and validate the teacher. So I know it to get, if I want students to do better, I'm intentional with supporting the teacher or the principal. That's my go-to. That's what I learn. And these adults, I'm gonna say adults, these teachers get a paycheck, and they're molding lives. And so, like, I give you grace, new teachers and things like that. You don't get grace with harm. Harm is harm. Own it. And if you own it and you're doing better and you're trying to fix it and things like that, I made mistakes. I've been a villain before. I was a new.
So I love that we're right here in this nuance, because I want to sort of get right in here as you're sort of unpacking and unweaving this, because it's not so much as the harm and us making an excuse for the harm, but what part of the natural growth that I just cannot prevent, right? And again, we live in a world where we tell folks at 18, you got it all figured out. You can go live by yourself. And if I take y'all guidance and y'all tell me, well, I should be able to go do it, I'm gonna go get this full-time job and I'm gonna try to figure it out. I'm gonna bump my head along the way. I'm gonna do some stuff simply because I just don't know. Yes, that harm is gonna be there, and we're not excusing it, but we're just talking about the natural. And I think again, we've all went to college. I don't know that the educational college experience really prepares them for the in classroom experience. I know they have toward that back end of the sort of end of it where they have to do the so many number of hours, but it ain't your class. You ain't that accountable, right? It is still part of your academic experience more so than that sort of career performance review thing that happens. And as long as you get the academic grade from it, it plays no role in you going to get a job as a teacher in the other side. So there's a lot of it where it's kind of like a theoretical exercise. And so when you think about the preparation, are we giving even the right grounding for that thing that you talk about, which is, and this is why I say, how do you get there? I get it. We don't want any harm. But if I don't know no better, like, guys, y'all threw me out here. Y'all told me I had everything I need, and I'm doing everything I could possibly do, guys. And then you talk about that one scenario, and I continue to think about that teacher with 25 kids in her class, which we know is too far off in common, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have the ratio teachers students where some of these things where they have this bandwidth. So like the burnout seems to be real. It seems to be some of it systemic in terms of the measurements that folks have to sort of make these standards and requirements. But then there seems to be this good natured simplicity, this just run of the mill growth. Like I just gotta go through this. Like with your first new baby. Guys, hey, guys, we all was in there going, we about to wing it right now. Look, we're gonna see if this thing works, right? And I guess I'm just trying to envision that space within the heroes and villains and really thinking about grace, especially when I think about the simplicity of that definition that you gave, which is harm is harm. Harm is harm. And I get it, and we don't ever want that. But there just seems to be this space where, yeah, I feel like I would tell, like, again, my son just got furloughed for the first time. Like, we told him it was a good government job. Like, he's got no context of this thing was going to impact me. And so now he's kind of going, well, Dad, what do I do? Right? You ain't do nothing wrong. Right? But then folks saying, "Oh man, you work for the government. Your government job ain't nothing." Now you're feeling some kind of way. People try like, and so you go as a teacher. And if I think about the context of that book, and if I'm a teacher reading that book, and I swear to myself I'm doing the best, can I find grace in that book for myself?
To answer your question, yes. And when I say harm is harm, it is. Because
And I agree.
and the reason I say that in this context is what I've seen is people try to dismiss the harm and move on from it. Thus, the learning can't happen.
Gotcha.
Once you harm a kid and you know that you harm a kid and you own it, you don't go back to that.
Gotcha.
Because I know what that caused. I know what that is. But when you dismiss it, and then you can, I'm just a new teacher. This, like this is why I tell educators all the time. That kid in first grade doesn't get first grade back.
Yeah.
They don't get first grade back. You might get first grade for 30 years. He only has one experience, maybe two, if he gets held back. One experience at first grade with you. Period. And that experience can create a lifetime of trauma for this child. Yes, there is grace. Know that you're enough. Know that the education field is hard. Know that you have lives in your hand. So it's not about a job. It's more of a duty and a gift that you're doing. If you're just coming here to get a paycheck, you're in the wrong profession because you're dealing with lives. the
Well, there
most
usually something.
important lives in the world
Yeah.
because
Uh-huh.
it's literally our future.
Yeah.
So you going around just causing a wake of harm, there isn't grace in this book for you.
Mm.
And
I
it's
love
not
it.
about me giving you grace. Can you give yourself grace to have an
Yeah.
authentic conversation with yourself, to really look in the mirror,
Mm.
to say, hey, I did this.
Hmm.
Because if you can do that, you can have grace, not only for
Mm.
yourself, but I can give you grace. But if you're not willing to reflect, I can't support you because
Yeah.
you're all in with causing harm because you're
Excusing myself.
excusing yourself because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
growing. You're
Right.
literally stagnant. And I've
Yeah.
seen so many teachers that I've been in education for years, 20 and 30 years, that have been stagnant since year two.
Wow.
And so I'm like, nah, man. What you're doing is like, I'm not going to let you
Mm.
villainize students. I'm not going to let you villainize parents, and I'm not going to let you gaslight educators that I carry. I'm not going to let you gaslight me, and I'm bringing truth to what you've been trying to keep in darkness for so long. And I'm shining a big ass flashlight on it. Hey, yes, you're uncomfortable. Yes, you're mad. And I don't care. Why? Because you're harming kids.
Yeah.
Now, you ready to do the work and get better? I will walk side by side, hand by hand with you. I always will. But just because I'm shining a light on you doesn't mean I don't see you as a person. I
That's right.
probably love you more than most of your friends because I'm willing to shine the light on you. Your other friends
Hmm.
allowed you to cause harm and didn't say anything. Those aren't
Yeah.
friends. Those are
Yeah.
those are non-woke people sitting right next to you, acting like
Mm.
they truly do equity work. So if you got friends like that, you got some fake ass mask wearing friends as well. So I
Mhm.
know I look different because I don't have a mask on. I'm an uncomfortable truth in the making. You're going to hear my words, and yes, they're going to sting, but also these stings will set you free. Because now you can take off all the damn masks and start being you and be in education.
Mhm.
And what got into education is to help kids.
Mm.
Now you can finally walk your walk. But if you're not willing to look in the mirror, you can't grow. And we got
Mhm.
a lot of stagnant ass teachers in front of our babies.
Bro, you just said I am the uncomfortable truth. Hey! I'm glad we got that recorded. You need to, bro, that hit me so God. Woo! Bro. I like that, bro. I like that. I am the uncomfortable truth. Bro, I like that.
Yeah,
Tish.
yeah. And and Mike, I know kind of identifying the villains who already know they're a villain, maybe
Yeah,
villains who are oblivious of being a villain. What
that's
about the
right.
villains who are villainized? The ones who are picked to be the villain.
Mm.
And I say that because I think of our Black and brown leaders, our professionals in the work field, that I think for many times I was picked as the villain,
Uh-huh.
right?
Unfairly
And that could
so.
be it can either be to my confidence, to my directness. There was a few things that people will identify that with where I just felt like I was being professional, I was being on prompt, right? Like, so I think of that because we're speaking on the ones who say, "Yeah, I'm a villain. I know that. That's where I'm at." Then there's the ones
Right,
who are
right.
oblivious of it, who come up with their mask on, full villain, and then I think there's the ones who get picked and they don't even self-identify. Because when I
Mm.
was being that person being picked, I used to be like, man, I'll be giving love to people. I don't know why I'm getting picked to be the villain in this space per se, right? And a lot of times I knew it because I was the change agent. I was the person implementing the change. I was the person who was hired to bring the change, right? I was always the change in some way. So I think it was already coined on me as the villain. But just removing that story out, just let's think of our young Black and brown educators who come to a space who maybe come to a department or a wing of a school. And there's several other classrooms who work with the same age group as that Black or brown teacher. And that Black or brown teacher holds it down. There's no behaviors. they're being educated, right? And those other classrooms who are comparing and contrasting are not meeting the mark as that black or brown educator in that room, and all of a sudden that educator is becoming the villain because they're so controlling, or because they have a certain way with the students that they can't relate to, or right, there's all these different things. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on that one? Because it made me think like, wait.
Cook, Mike, cook for us.
Well, first of all, y'all are selling the hell out of this book.
Hey, this is our podcast. We get to do what we want to.
I appreciate it. Like
This is the healing table. Let's get on the table.
The healing table. Let's go.
And like the God's intentional, like with y'all in putting y'all in spaces with me, because like everything that y'all talked about, I have a chapter about. Literally, it's crazy. And y'all have no pre-read or
nothing. And we ain't got no pre-read or nothing.
Nothing. So there's a chapter about being a new teacher and colleges not preparing new teachers. And there's a space about like when you say the thing, you're going to get fantastic resistance because your light irritates other people's demons. And so all
fantastic resistance.
So new like black and brown teachers that are just so dope at what you're doing, you're going to be gaslighted. I talk about it, but then you don't have to do that. You're going above and beyond. You're babying the kids. The kids just love Mr. Sykes. You can do no wrong. And it's all this passive aggressive stuff because you're great. Because you have excellence. And so they're going to paint you as the villains. You're not going to get invited to some of the meetings, some of the parties. They might talk stuff in your behind your back and all those things. And what I would tell all those educators is like, know that you're enough. Know that you're enough. And you don't want value and validation from villains anyway. And you look in any hero story, the villain tries to gaslight the hero in their morals and their values as something being wrong. Since when has loving a kid been wrong?
Yeah.
Never. Never has loving a kid been wrong. So when you hear teachers say, oh, you just spend too much energy into that kid, to me, it's like, you're not putting enough. You're not putting enough, because this is what I know. And this has always been my approach is every kid I am in front of is Neilani, Quincy, or my Jay. So in a sense, they're my kid. And I'm going to treat them as such, and I'm going to advocate as such. And there's nothing I won't do for my kids. So there's nothing I won't do for this kid. And by doing that, I became, quote unquote, the villain to so many other people. Once again, I don't care because I know what my why is. My why is purpose. And I'm about the babies. So I told my team, when I managed over 20 people, I said, hey, listen here. Here's our philosophy. We coach, model, and train. We support adults. We do this, this, and this. I said, I never want you to come to me and say it's the student's fault. Never. Because I guarantee I will go there and support the student, and it won't be the student's fault. If you make me choose between a student and you can leave now. You're never going to win this. Don't ever make me choose between you and the student. I'm choosing the student every single time. I know some of y'all for 10 years. Some of y'all are close friends. I'm letting you know where Mike Sykes stands from the jump. Don't make me choose between you and the student, because I'm choosing students. Black, white, purple, disability, non-disability. Every kid I'm going to choose over an adult. Period.
See, and that's when they made you a villain. They were like, all right, you're okay. It's like, you're a villain now.
I'm okay with playing.
Hey, that turned fantastic resistance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I might be a villain to people who don't want light, but I'm a hero to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And not just a
Mm-hmm.
hero, I'm not their savior. I can help the kids be their own hero.
Yeah,
So now when I leave, they can protect themselves.
that's right. That's right.
So I'm not trying to save kids. I'm not a savior,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
but
We
I
want
can play the
sustainability.
hero for kids. If I'm inequities villain, oh, I'll wear that title. Yeah, inequity, you should be scared every time I'm come. Yes, yes. I don't like, I'm not bothered by how other people paint me because I
We
know
know you're not bothered because you are the uncomfortable truth, my nigga.
because I know what villains do. I know what insecure people do. I know people that haven't processed trauma. I know what they do. I know all the tricks of the trade. Like, so I'm not worried about that because me putting my energy into people that don't value and validate me has me putting all my energy in some places that they don't deserve to be, which is more resistance. That's going against the grain versus putting my energy into people that value and validate me, putting my energy in kids, and I can see them blossom or other adults blossom. So all
Yeah.
this stuff is static over there. So I would tell those teachers, allow stuff to be static on one side and keep doing what you're doing. Oh, you think I was doing too much then? I'm going to amp it up. So you thought the bar was high here. I was a little tired and I was taking it easy. You don't like that bar? I'm going to put the bar up. I know you can't reach it. Now I'm gonna get teacher of the year. Now I'm gonna get this. Now I'm gonna get this. Now what? Because my bar is going to be so high, not only for myself, but for my kids. So when
Yeah.
my kids are doing what gifted kids are doing, now what? When I had the highest math grades in the school, now what? When I had the highest reading levels, all what? Well, all my kids are proficient or advanced, then what?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can talk stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I'm all those things that you want to say that I am and more. You're right.
Like that almost sounds like correct me if I'm wrong, or this is the feeling it gives me, almost like the positive side of a villain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
as much as we put the word, I know we're putting emphasis on the villain in a way of like, you're in the wrong space per se, right? Like you fucked up, you villaining right now. But then I think the other end of it, when I said, oh, they probably looked at you as a villain when you were like, look, if you're gonna make me choose, because I remember I used to tell staff, if you are not here to support these kids while they at my camp, there goes the door. You can leave today. That was me. All right. And now, and I'm thinking, I asked the question earlier about like being the villain, and I'm thinking like the moments I was a villain was definitely there. When camp hit that midweek and people were tired and they were starting to check out on the kiddos, I wasn't having it. I would pull them into a small dining room adjacent to the big dining room. And there was a door that exit out that little dining room. And I used to tell them, look, I'm about to drop some gems. If you don't like anything I'm saying, that little door right there, you can head out. Everybody who walks back in here, we're going to change lives. We're going to save lives. That's what we're going to do if you're coming back in here. And everybody used to always come back in the dining room with me. But I remember for the next couple of days, it was like eggshells a little around Mr. Adam, right? Per se, viewing me as the villain. But really, what I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to do was motivate them because they were hitting a little bit of that rock bottom at camp that we call fatigue galore, right? Because it's a 24-hour service. So, when they get to that point, I had to do something. I would come out on that day, do the community pause thing, feeling where the error's at, finding that space to remotivate some of those brain waves that are all going into the land of fatigue, right? And why I say that is as much as there's the villain as you're speaking of, right, Mike, which you said it really well in the book as well, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I think it's also the part of that positive villain who steers the pot for the good.
Well,
Yeah.
but this is that point that I was trying to get into, which is where I was
Mm-hmm.
asking Mike about that grace, which is it's not so much as just the Robin Hood type of villain, right? Which is y'all are hating just because I'm doing something good, right?
Yeah.
Or the Dr. King is a villain, right? Kind of deal, right? Because he's
Mm-hmm.
advocating for something y'all would rather not have, right? I think that villain, I think folks see. I think I'm talking about that villain, coach, that you just described, which is The post was, I need to give my team kind of a swift kick in the ass.
Yeah.
I need to insert some energy, right? Parents in your house, you have to do it. Hey, y'all been slacking on the laundry, right? I'm gonna need y'all, right? There's zero evil intent, right? There's zero negative thing about it. That's you saying,
All motivation.
got to do, right? That's right. I got to do something to pull this up. Like, how do you see yourself in that when you look at this? And because I think if you look at this conversation, and if you don't hear the whole conversation all the way through, you can kind of walk out and kind of see yourself right where coach is all I did was the right thing and these kids got mad at me, right? All of a sudden, I'm the villain now. I just told y'all needed to be quiet because the room beside y'all was testing, right? There are these simplicities, or when you think about being a good Samaritan, right? Some man is beating on a woman and you're outside, right? Like, God, like I'm not, like I'm just, this is the most human thing I know to do, which is to try to protect this woman in this scenario. But right, you about to be received as that villain, right? And what I mean by can you find grace, not that the book is necessarily giving you grace, but that you cover the view of villain through these lenses that we're taking this conversation with. Because oftentimes you can see the grace in something when you can see the range. Like, oh, okay, oh, Easy was like, man, he dropped his kid's phone time. Oh, coach said he dropped his kid. Oh, right in the middle. Oh, good. I'm good. Right. And so there's a piece of that where you just kind of go, enough to wake up, right? Enough to sort of now be aware. But how do you not kind of punch yourself? Because, coach, you said it too. For the next couple of days, people are walking on eggshells around you, and you going, well, what the hell did I do? And you don't want to say that because now you're about to exacerbate it because now they're going to be like, well, now you noticing me walking on eggshells. And so now everybody's hiding. And so now it's like, wait a minute, well, how do I get out of this thing? Right. And so this is what I was trying to describe earlier, that hey, there's a part of being a villain that, again, when you think about Nino Brown and you can talk about all the, folks who were harmed by that, they were still putting up a new hospital, right? Still having folks pay rent, right? Still making sure the little again, there's obviously the bad side, but there is also a positive value proposition about these illegal dollars that come in impoverished communities.
So to answer your question, I'm going to make it easy.
Yeah, that's what you do.
The biggest thing, like with Adam's situation, is the relationship. That's it. Can that person that feels a certain way come up and talk to Adam? Does Adam know the people that might be too timid to come talk to them just to check in and say how you doing? It's the relationship. That's the thing that changes everything. If you're doing power over or you a little push, even with your kids and things like that, and you don't got the relationship to back it up, that's harm. Call it what it is. That's harm.
Relationship equities on the negative.
Yeah. But if you got a relationship where you're going to pull some of that equity out because you have poured so much in, you're a millionaire with your relationship with your kids, with your staff, you can pull a little bit out to get in their ass a little bit. Just this is a reset. And I'm not saying this to cause harm. I'm saying this because I love you and we're trying to go to where we need to be. So you said we're healing kids and saving lives. Like, that's real.
Yeah.
If we're not aligned to that, because we're reaching burnout, which I understand, and we have to push through. And here's the other thing that I know Coach Adam didn't mention. I will support you in whatever you need to get there. I'm going to walk with you whenever you need me to walk with you.
Yeah.
I'm an extra pair of hands. I'm an extra pair of eyes. Like, whatever you need to be successful, I'm down like 4 flats because your success is my success. And that's what leadership's supposed to be. So if our teacher's pushing a kid because they can't read, and teacher's like, no, but you need to read. But that teacher has to walk with that kid during those struggles. Not just say, all right, you got 15 minutes. Hey, Johnny, you got this, dude. this, and this. That's when the teacher shows up at the football game. Takes a little bit extra time, gives the kid the extra snack for the effort that they put extra 5 minutes in reading. So
That's real good.
those are the things. I think sometimes, a lot of times, teacher, I see it all the time, they demand respect, but they don't want to give respect. And respect is a two-way street. So you want to increase relationship capital. As an educator, you need to give respect first and give it in abundance. So you can increase your relationship capital. Then you can start picking and pulling your space. But too often, kids' bank accounts with some of these adults and teachers is on a negative. Teachers, like, I have this other training coming up. It's called relationship literacy. And there's some educators out here that got some relationship scores, like credit scores, that are like under 500. And wondering why kids ain't learning. I'm like, your relationship scores is terrible, dude. But it's the truth. If you don't have a high score with your relationship with your kids, you're not going to get the outcomes you need, and you're inviting more behavior. And I'll say this, like, if your relationship score is in the lower fives or the 400s, you're inviting kids to square up. You're inviting resistance. You're going to have a chaotic classroom. Period.
To that end, becoming a teacher is completely wide open. There is no K through 12, to my knowledge, education on relationship equity.
No.
Is it taught are they taught that as a part? Because what you're dropping is really fundamental, right? In the corporate space, at some point, as you move up the leadership ladder, you get some of this type of training, right? Or if you go to any sort of about good communication, they talk about relationship equity. Even when we talk about email etiquette, right, in sort of the workspace. So, right, there's parts of that when you get into the corporate workspace, but I know education doesn't communicate like that, right? There's not all these daily emails to this type of stuff, aren't meetings all day, right? You're literally in your classroom with your kids, right? How does that feel? Get that relationship equity on a whole, because then I would imagine that even additional care needs to be added for ones who work with the gifted kids. Like, you need to come with that other. So like, if there's no, like, is it open? Is it just free for all? Like, what are we doing? Is it some gatekeeping? Educate me on something I don't know about here.
Well, a couple of things. Like, typically in education, everything, the focus is on instruction. And it's one of the biggest misses. Like, there's research that shows the biggest determinant of a student being successful in school is a relationship with the adult. It's the biggest determinant of success for a student.
Coach's story. Just called it out. Ms. Roberts.
Coach's story.
Ms. Roberts.
There's data to back that up.
Absolutely.
But instruction is always the main focus. And so it's like, it's beating the dead horse with a stick almost. And it's just like, that doesn't work. I'm not saying instruction is not important, but it doesn't work unless you have an authentic relationship. But we don't take time and energy to teach teachers how to build authentic relationships.
Yeah,
I did when I was manager of behavior strategies. I had literally a relationship training to support with like behavior, and like with leaders, like relations, like it's a little, I'm gonna say bogus. I was gonna really speak how old I am. I haven't said bogus in at least 15 years. It's kind of bogus how, as in the education field, we don't leverage relationships more. We leverage relationships to get jobs. in education. It's all about who you know, but we don't leverage relationship as leaders to build with our team so it can, in a sense, cycle down. So
As a core competency.
yeah, it really isn't. And so because we don't do that, we in a sense model what not to do for kids.
Wow.
And so then we were like, our kids are struggling socially. The adults in the building are struggling socially. They're petty. They're like if you go to a high school and you go in the lunchroom and you see these different cliques of girls and guys and stuff like that, it's the same thing in elementary schools with educators.
Bro, it's just like church.
Just like church.
Mm-hmm.
It is
It's the
just
same.
like
The
church.
church and the school, those cliques are, bro, it's the same.
Man, it's the cool teachers and the not cool.
Yes,
And
sir.
like, oh, you talk to them, then you can't talk to them and all this other stuff. So when I walk into school, I was like, where's the clique that loves students?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that clique at? Because that's where I'm going. Who's the clique that's for students and not about their ego or just test scores or to get the gifted class?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that clique at? And sometimes that's literally me when I walk into a school, or it might be me and a paraprofessional. Like some of this stuff is so crazy. Is the word I'm gonna go with. Like, I think when people hear this podcast, they're like, "Oh, he's kind of exaggerating," or they read the book. I'm not exaggerating. It's ugly. It is. It is dog ass ugly in these things. So that's why I wrote this book to show the ugliness, to show the harm, and to like this book isn't about shame. I don't need a teacher feeling shame doesn't help me. I know it doesn't help me. I don't want a teacher to feel shame, but I also can't control people. I wrote this book for change. It's fire to light a fire under your fanny so you can start moving and start being equitable, being loving, stop causing harm. Like we have to start moving differently. Period.
But there is hope. There is hope for our folks to become heroes.
Well, one, they can read this book and get their whole life in order. That's what they can do first is grab the book. Let's make sure we plug that part.
For sure.
There's hope for sure.
Yeah, and like anybody that knows me, I believe in humanity. So I'm saying these things because it needs to be brought to the light. And I do think we're in a time and space where we can create the things that we want to see, but we have to be the people that we need to be. We can't keep hoping for a change and not being the change.
So with this book, how does this book for you open up that opportunity for you to be a guide for this change?
Yeah.
I think it's really going to be similar to like how Easy Equity has been and what I did for, well, both of us did for Coach. We're doing some trainings, really coming in to like look at some systems. Let's do some training. Let me pour into you. Let me name some practices that aren't good. Let me show you how to do some different practices. Let's process through some stuff. Let's have some dialogue. Let's say some things that you would never want to say. Let's say I caused harm to a kid. What was that harm like? What did you do? All right. How did you feel? All right, let's move past that because I don't need you to sit in shame. I don't need you to sit in harm. I need you to grow.
Yeah.
And too many times people are sitting in the same things, causing the same harm over and over again. And that's because they haven't grown. And so like this book will put me in front of people and things like that. Maybe in a bigger public eye to say like these things are happening in education. We need to do better. Like, and here's the thing about education. We know how to educate kids. We do. We literally know how to educate kids. There's a science behind it. But we don't. And like that's the stuff that kind of not just frustrates me. That's the stuff that infuriates me. And by building relationships, we know that's the biggest determinant of success. Like, why aren't we all in on relationships? Like that makes no sense to me. The most highest performing teams are the teams that are connected to their leader the most.
Absolutely. Facts.
Like we know this, but yet
Facts.
we ain't did the work inside to heal. So when coach says who's helping you heal, I'm like, I need somebody to help y'all heal because I need y'all to be able to move forward so we can support our kids.
Yeah. It made me think of another thing, y'all. There's this poet by the name of, his name is Poetry from Detroit, a Detroit native, a Midwest brother. And this brother, he has a poem called The Monster in My Stomach.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yo, check this out. Why I say this, and it made me think of the poem when you were speaking, and I think of the villain. It's gonna go back to the villain, and just that, the villain or maybe the monster in their mind or whatever you want to put it. The reason why poetry put it in the monster in his stomach was talking about how he would get out of work and he would drive past Burger King and all their advertisement would catch his eye. And his stomach will be like, hey, just pull over. It's 99 cents. You can get about 3 burgers for that. And, he's like, no, I ate for lunch already. He's trying to convince the monster in his stomach. I already ate already. I had lunch already. Why are you trying to get? And they're like, but look, you get 2 for 1. You like a deal, right? And this monster is just trying to convince him to consume everything, right? And he's realizing that in order for him to control those pieces, he has to fix the monster in his stomach. And first part was identifying that he had a monster. So I think of when you're talking about this villain piece and teachers and I said I live with one, right? And I know a lot of them. Is it their monster they're dealing with?
Ooh.
Right? Poetry is talking about the monster in his stomach. You also check out the poem. He also has a poem called Dating Myself. Banger. Dope shit. But it made me think of this poem, correlation to what we're talking about, the villain, and you know me, I love some tangible resources. Y'all know that. Is it the monster? And then how do we help them identify that monster? Right? Because just like my man Gross says, as much as that thing can live in you, we could certainly evict that motherfucker too.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So,
it's so interesting that you pulled that piece together, and you guys can see my hands right now. But I was typing something when Coach when Mike said it earlier, which is, I don't want you just sitting with the stuff. I need you getting it out of. When you said that, the first thing I thought about was, who's helping you heal?
Mm-hmm.
And so that gets into, Mike, your question, and Coach, the question for you, Mike, but I think Coach, where you was going with this, which is round 2, is what are the tools? Are you bringing tools to the table, right, to also help folks identify this monster? And I would identify one monster for sure, which is something you said. I don't need you just sitting with it. One monster is just sitting with stuff that we shouldn't. And for whatever reason, that gets into that question, Coach, who's helping you heal? And so, we've got a few minutes going, but I do want to make sure we're closing with thinking about, how does this book help set the stage for tomorrow forward?
So 2 things. Coach, I love that poem, and I love how you were phrasing it. And what instantly came to mind when you're doing healing work, so to speak, like something has to die. Something has to be inside of you in order to become something else. You can't eat something different with the same plate with your same shit on it. You have to leave something behind. That goes back to like easy equity, let go to grow. But there's like a grief cycle that you're going to have to go through to let go of the things that are no longer serving you. If you want to do right by kids, you got to let go that you did wrong by them.
Bro, that's a lot. Yeah,
That's
that's a lot.
heavy.
Yeah.
And so you're going
That's
to
heavy.
have to take a breath. You're going to
Uh-huh.
have to affirm yourself, but you can't carry both forward. One's going to win. And I would say the harm by students is easily accessible.
Mm.
Especially in this today's society. It is accessible. It's that Burger King. It's three burgers for $1. I can get 3 kids out of your class that have behavior problems for one phone call. Three kids
Yeah.
out of your class, then you can really teach. That's easy. That's an invitation. But if you're
Mm.
going to be different, you're going to say those are 3 babies.
Wait. Are you telling me to get down to your teacher-student ratio, all you got to do is get rid of some kids for some whatever reason, so they out of there, and now you got a ratio? Bro,
You
I
got a
never thought about
ratio. You
such
don't
a
have to deal
thing.
with behaviors. You can do all these things. You can say, "Oh, be quiet, Adam. Adam, sit still." And Adam is like, "I like to pop lock while I'm doing my work. I can't sit still." It happens all the time. I kid you not.
Wow. So there's a manual manipulation of those numbers, and those numbers also lead towards the pipeline to prison because once you get
You
into
think they don't? You think they?
bro,
Yes.
Mhm.
Now you understand billing.
I
To
mean,
be
I never considered the fact. I guess it just never resonated, or it just the light bulb went off that the student teacher ratio does change every time they kick a student out of the classroom. That
Yeah.
that's 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 real, and you can certainly see how somebody could say, I can be more successful in my role if I can get rid of these, because we see people do it in the regular jobs other ways. If I can get these 2 people off my team, right? I can
Mhm.
now hire this person that I want to hire.
Yep. I
Yeah.
I get these 3 kids going, 3 kids with behavior problems. I can push them in special education. I can teach in a way that isn't their learning modality.
That
And
part.
now I can steer with either they're too aggressive, they're not learning fast enough, or whatever thing I want to say. And this is the other thing, the kicker in the book, what you hear a lot of time around in education is safety. Then I can say, I don't feel safe with these kids.
Whew.
And so
that
now
that dollar is that you can find that dollar anywhere, basically.
the principal has to do something because now the teacher will file a grievance on the principal
Yeah.
if
Mm-hmm.
they don't
Mm-hmm.
remove this kid, come up with some
Mm-hmm.
elaborate plan, and and
Mhm.
and things like that. So if
Not a
I can
system
get
is
like this,
empowering all the foolishness.
not only can I remove kids and I steer them towards special education, that's disproportionality and suspensions, classroom removals, black and brown students, and special education. This is real. Everybody talks about it. They don't really want to say these are babies behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, like in a
Yeah,
sense,
of course, because they don't see our kids as babies.
right. Then there's the adultification of
There's that
that.
part.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so then, like that's like that easy fast food. Like, oh, I can get these numbers down. You got all the quote
Yeah.
good kids, the kids you want
Yeah.
anyway, or you can walk in light
Yeah.
and work on your biases. Look in the mirror and do the right thing. The right thing is never easy, but it's worth it. I think Nipsey Hussle said, what did he say? He said, I wouldn't say I'm not saying that it's fair, but it's worth it.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Mhm.
our babies are worth it. I'm not saying it's easy and you're not going to be tired. You are, but it's worth it. It's
Yeah.
worth it because it's a human being and it's a life in your hand.
Mm.
And like what I noticed when being in education is I took that as, since we're going heroes and villains, I was like, I got the ultimate power. I have the power to support life,
Mm.
to support life. And so I was just like, I don't take that lightly. And so
Mm.
anybody that's trying to dim that light, try to make that life harder, no, I'm down like 4 flats for kids. And so it's just like you have these choices. Like I said earlier, you can be a hero or a villain, but like that to kill that monster inside, you have to let go of what comes easy. Of dismissing. You got to let go of your implicit bias
Yeah.
and do the
You
work
got
to
you got to
value.
recognize that joker before you can even let it go.
Say it again.
Mhm.
Say it again.
You got to recognize it even before you can let it go, and
Yeah.
some of them just not even aware of that part.
Yeah.
And there's that.
And
Yeah,
Michael,
as I hear you talk about that, your passion for the babies, I think of the quote from Lee Iacocca, and I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but in a civil and rational society, the best of us would aspire to be teachers because the passing on of civilization from one generation to the next is the highest honor anyone could have. Every time you speak, and I once saw this quote in an educator's office, wasn't even my school, right? But I saw it and it just resonated. But one thing that comes out very clear for me, and I haven't read this book yet, but based just even in our in this podcast today, it's very clear that you are that best of.
Mm.
Because you bring that you bring that simple, civil, and rational perspective of the highest honor that we could actually have is the passing on of civilization from one generation to the next. And the way that shows up and the way that you care for these babies, my brother, I'm in love with it all. I'm absolutely, I cannot wait to read this book, but I'm absolutely in love with this whole thing. And I have certainly been absolutely enlightened by this entire conversation. And obviously, this is our first podcast episode, and we're launching your book in our first podcast episode. How dope is that, too? But I think just this conversation and the way you've just poured yourself into, man, it still gives me chills. I know I'm going to go to sleep thinking about I Am an Uncomfortable Truth. Because bro, that just resonates because again, I just want to make sure you get your flowers from me,
Thank you.
because I love everything about this, man.
Coach, you're about to say something?
yeah, no, I was going to do kind of what Growfester's doing here, but also maybe just planting another seed with it because what I heard you say earlier made me think it's kind of like the light bulb grow received. I saw a forecasted demise, right? And
Mm.
that forecasted demise is what you said. How do we allow these villains to recognize the true observation of their forecasted demise moves? Meaning, that child that you're shifting out because you can't handle the behaviors and you don't want to dedicate yourself, that one movement out of the side of the classroom, how do we let them see the 20 years of that lifespan of that
Mm-hmm.
one decision to show them?
Orgasm.
We're talking about pipelines, right? The other thing, brother, everything you shared today, same with Grove saying, really touched me, especially for someone who lived in that gifted and talented, but was forced to be in just like that regular space. And I struggle with that, right? I never was a fan of school. I was always forced to go to school, even with college,
Mm.
right? I was a non-traditional student, and it took a lot to get me there. Boy, I was like so stubborn about it. And through that, right, through that experience, I still value education, right? I recognize the value of it. And when I hear like our conversation today and the gems that you were dropping, the same thing with Grow. Yeah, man, this healing table segment, fire. It really gives me more hope, not just for like teachers in general, these villains who are going to become heroes, but more importantly, where my personal investment lies is in my home with my wife and the teaching she does, and maybe some of those challenges I see her face, right? And that bulb that went off for Grow and that thought that came from me where I was like, oh, that's a forecasted demise that
Yeah.
indeed I can now plant with my missus.
Yeah.
I don't think she's recognizing that piece to that far degree because
Yeah.
that's a far vision. That's long vision. And some folks just can't have that long vision, man. So I appreciate that. And that really, as much as that light bulb went off for you, Grow, I saw like this demise forecasted of the same looking black and brown children being lost in the educational system.
Yep.
I land my plane. Much love, sir.
Thank you.
You also dropped the fact that I never thought about it this way. It doesn't matter how new the teacher is, that kid only gets that one-time experience. Every single time, that kid only gets that one-time experience. So when you said harm is harm, and then you went and talked about that first grade kid, maybe if he get put back, and again, if he gets put back, that's not necessarily a favorable situation. So we're not even talking about a favorable situation where you do it again. And if you did it again, you likely wouldn't do it with the same teacher, right? And so when you think about that, the actual impact, the actual lack of relationship equity is even more jarring, because the opportunity, to your point, coach, that forecast demise, it can happen at any given point in this.
Yeah.
This is, ain't no better podcast one than this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate both of y'all. Y'all's kind words always mean the world to me. So, thank you. Thank you for, I was definitely not expecting this, but allowing myself in this book to be centered today. Super dope. Like, this is a gift, and I've been trying to be a part of it and receive it at the same time. I'm like, oh, I need to pause. I need to let other people talk. But something told me this is like, might just keep doing you. This is what they want. And so receive this gift. So I do, and it means a lot. And those two like light bulbs, or three or four light bulbs that went on, is like the reason I wrote this whole book. It's literally the reason, because like one action can have a lifetime of impact. Like Adam, still are mad, or not even mad, that you don't like school in a certain way because you weren't supported,
allowed to be. That's
allowed
right.
to be to be you, and like enough. That's why villains and special education, the uncomfortable truth is that's why I wrote it, because that's where I'm at. Like, enough. Like, I think I did a podcast with you, Adam, and I remember crying on it because I had this realization that my kids got harmed in the educational system the same way I did. And that it, when I was doing the podcast, it hit me, and I was just like, how did you allow this, Mike? And I was like, what you gonna do about it? Fast forward, like, this is what came out of it. Like, my kids are pretty much done. My daughter's a senior, but somebody else's kid, like, no, I'm not going to other them. Somebody else's, y'all's kids are my kids, and I will stand with them.
Like, just like you started the conversation on this same question, you talked about following your instinct. Hey, you literally followed your instinct, right? And that's why you're here at this point, right? Because that's the point that I was making, is how does another parent sort of find that energy after they read this and say, I don't want another kid? Or if I got, one kid and now I got another kid who ain't even started, how can I make some changes in this system before my kid get here, right? And so I love that this book sort of gives sort of that space. But then you talked about it in a very simple way, which is you got to trust your instinct. Yeah, you got to ask those questions, right? You got to sort of follow up. You got to be consistent, right? Those are all things that are in that wheelhouse. And I think between that fantastic resistance and, Coach, your new term,
forecasted demise,
you start to see how the bookends of us three being together starts to really come together in this unique way. Right. And because I think me sort of reading that article and going, what the fuck are they doing? And going, wait a minute, I know somebody who just, like, again, we didn't have anything planned. It was like, well, let's just start. And I think when I left y'all that voicemail, This is what was sort of in me, was like, when we get together, for me, good stuff just happens. And, I think us capturing it allows us to start to tell the story in a way that amplifies us all. Because, Mike, when I say with all earnesty, absolutely, it's been a long time since I've anticipated the drop of a book. I cannot wait to get my hands on this book, and I am a reader, right? I want to sort of really get into this. That fantastic resistance. Coach was describing it. I was trying to describe it earlier, and then you put a term to it, and I'm going, bro, this happens in corporate America. The moment you start doing good, people, and we talk about it all the time. The minute you start doing well, all these haters come out of the woodworks, right? Folks went out of the woodworks in the first place. They just saw you. You're now separating yourself from them, and they're now saying, so it's a resistance to you being fantastic. Like just the terminology there. For me, again, it becomes empowering in itself, right? And coach, I think the same thing. When you start to think about that term and you put it on the table for somebody, you now have to be able to say, you need to think about your actions and how it's going to impact something forward. Yeah. Because without it, you're just willy-nilly doing stuff. And I think the pandemic, and we've all talked about it in various ways, sort of in a bunch of different conversations, but we all recognize that the pandemic stopped, for some folks, basic meals, basic care, basic things that they was able to get. And even in that socialization space, how do we sort of come back and do that in a space where everybody is really still trying to pick up the pieces and move forward at the same time? Right. This is the complexity of the depth of the types of conversations I think we can have in our conversations, where we can really start to get into something and look at it a bunch of new ways, stretch the conversation out, right? Give it that room to breathe and that airtime. Because I think what ultimately happens from all of us is we all start talking about our unique methodologies and how we see things and how we pull pieces together. Because when I say you guys have fed me today, I've absolutely been fed. So gratitude.
Thank you for sitting with us at the healing table. This first conversation reminded us how many of our stories started long before we had language for them. We talked about classrooms that shaped us, labels that followed us, and the adults who saw our light before we could see it in ourselves. If this episode brought up memories, questions, or moments you want to reflect on, take your time. Healing is not rushed, it is chosen. We invite you to return for the next conversation as we continue to unpack the stories that shaped our manhood, our fatherhood, and our ability to heal and love. Until then, take care of your heart, take care of your story, and thank you for joining us at the healing table.